Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mind of Sai Marie, the ongoings of my world, and just things for us to BS about. So, I decided that I would just do this little specialty variety show where I talk about things like books, what I'm working on, what I'm researching, articles, things like that, just to kind of let you guys get in a little bit more with, just me, because I've been doing a lot of podcasts with other people and it's been fun, but I just thought it would be kind of unique to do my own little thing. And, you know, there was a writing prompt that came across my space today, and it was an interesting one, and it led me into crafting this piece that I thought was really kind of profound, and I think it will be helpful. And, I just want to say, let this be your little dose of empathy for the day. Empathy is the ability of blurring the line between self and other. So let's start seeing each other not as us versus them, but as a whole collective. Keep that in mind as I move on to discuss what it is I want to share tonight. And I do want to say, I hope that everyone in the pathway of the tsunami, which I happen to live in Oregon, and our state is definitely under the tsunami watch, are safe and to take the evacuation orders seriously because um, what might seem like a 4 foot wave, pretty decent size, can quickly become a 100 foot wave in the matter of a blink of an eye. So please keep that in mind and stay away from the coastal areas and the low-lying areas if you happen to be in any of the projected tsunami danger zones. Um, so moving on, let's talk a little bit about the priceless gift of peace. And there's a lot going on in the world right now that can really get at your peace. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's feeling the grate and the grind. Um, I seen a post the other day on Threads saying, "You're not depressed. You just need for the current administration to no longer be in authority in the United States and for Palestine to be free." And I think that that's probably resonant with a lot of people. However, as a person who has major depressive disorder and anxiety, I do want to emphasize that even before those things, I suffered with some great burdening boulders of mental health due to CPTSD and different experiences in my life. But nevertheless, the impact of how horrible the genocide in Palestine is and what has gone on, um, it it's just beyond words. It is an atrocity that the whole world is seeing, and there's truly no excuse for it. But that's why learning the priceless gift that peace is so important. And it's not just cliche to say that peace is priceless. It is often an overlooked truth that through the refining fire of life's challenges becomes very elusive. It's something that, it almost becomes cheapened by the simplicity of saying, oh, we want world peace, without understanding how very difficult it is to retain that. It is often an overlooked truth, like I said, but a profound piece of wisdom that will hopefully resonate with others as much as it has I, comes from the value of understanding that peace is elusive. This understanding came for me through dedicated time and the courage to unpack a great deal of inner turmoil and trauma. It came through deep introspection, and I've evolved and risen above the chaos to calm, to find out for myself what an undeniable gift true peace really is. As often as we hear that peace is priceless, Like I said, the wording can sometimes detract from its immeasurable worth. It's easy to overlook that it literally means more valuable than anything else on earth. In our crazy, often fast paced and distracted world, obtaining genuine peace feels incredibly hard. We're constantly bombarded, pulled in different directions, told we need to do more, be more, achieve more. In that clamor, the quiet, steadying presence of inner peace can feel invisible, almost forgotten. But when you've experienced its absence, when you've navigated the depths of internal struggle and found your way to that invaluable tranquility, you truly understand its power. Peace isn't just the absence of conflict, it's the profound presence of calm amidst any storm. It's the quiet assurance that settles your spirit, allowing you to breathe, think clearly, and respond with intention rather than reaction. It's a gift that, once truly understood, becomes the foundation upon which so much else in life can beautifully stand. And that's something to think about because all of us really want to be able to stand in the midst of whatever comes against us and feel that sense of calm, to be able to understand that what is exterior to us does not have to disrupt that internal peace that we have. And that isn't to say that you're never going to be challenged. Of course, we're all challenged every single day. How can we not be? You look around at this world, and every day it's this grinding down. It's meant to put you off track so that you're constantly absorbed in chaos, so that you can't ever break away and you feel nothing but that high blood pressure, high strung sense of doom and gloom that never goes away. And so you live your entire life grading down on your own body because you manifest all these different types of diseases and illnesses within your body from that calamity, that rat race, that striving to have more, be more, achieve more, and be the biggest, dog out there in the fight. But we don't all need to be the biggest dog out there in the fight. In all honesty, if all the dogs could just be happily, about the same size, able to get what they need and healthy, there would be no need for there to be a larger dog in the pack. And it's really about what you want in your life at the core of everything. When you go back and you think about what it is you want for yourself, don't think of it in your material basis. Think of it on a level that's deeper than that, such as what kind of experiences do I want in my life? What kind of atmosphere do I want to be a part of? And if you go back and you consider how many people ask you what you wanted to be when you grew up, if any of them ever asked you, what are you going to do to make yourself happy when you grow up? And of course, if you keep asking yourself that every day, you can start to come up with solutions on how to build and create that life. You can start to develop a way and a method that works for you to bring that vision into your reality. Because as much as we have no control over what might be happening in the external in a lot of ways, we always have the ability to find ways to cope within so that we can rise above and not allow those things to seep in to our soul and poison our spirit. So the world's going to find every way that it can in order to try to disrupt you from your internal dialogue. And it's interesting because I follow Matthew McConaughey a lot, and he's got a new book coming out. I think it's a poet book, poetry and lyrics or something like that. Which, on that note, I have a poetry collection with over 80 books. 80 poems, excuse me, that I had written between 2018 and 2025. And I just compiled all these and put them out Streaming Sentiments and Poetry, of course, is available on many different book sites and retailers now if you guys are interested in seeing what I have in that collection. But anyways, back to what I was saying about Matthew. So he put out this YouTube video and he was talking about how you got to have an inner monologue before you can have a dialogue. And I really think that that plays a huge role in what I'm talking about tonight because at that introspection you start to create that inner monologue, right? And with your stream of consciousness, if you're into the writing methods and things like that, it's written in a way to where you're seeing how the human brain might work and process information and experiences as they're happening, and how that works from the persona to the actual interaction and engagement that that character is having. And in a reality aspect, if you think about this, it makes a lot of sense because if you don't know who you are, how are you going to find what brings you fulfillment and ultimately peace so that you can experience that? So you can come to center and you can contribute to the world in a way that's going to make you feel valid and connected. And I think that that's very important to also consider because when you start to unpack that, then you can really go, well, am I an ambivert? Am I an introvert? Am I an extrovert? How do I feel when I'm in spaces with around a lot of people? Do I need time to detach and unplug so I can recharge myself, which is something a lot of introverts need? Um, do I prefer having a wide social network and doing a lot of fun, interactive engagements with people? Or do I prefer a smaller, more intimate circle? Does having um, a lot of people know me, but not a lot of people know me matter to you? You have to really consider what it is that it will take for you to develop the spaces and the atmospheres that are going to make you feel that sense of calm. And then immerse yourself in them so that when the times happen, such as now, being under a tsunami warning, and an 8.8 earthquake has hit Russia with several aftershocks, many people are scared right now. And in moments where these things happen, it's easy to get anguished and then panic. At the same time, it's also easy to be dismissive and make a fatal mistake. And so it's very important that you learn how to cope with life as it comes at you, while at the same time not allowing life as it comes with you to deter you from that place of peace that you should be able to find. And some people, it's like I said, small circles. Personally, I have a small circle. I hang out with my cat. I hang out with my kids. I don't really hang out with a lot of people, but I do know a lot of people. And that isn't because I dislike anyone. I mean, on occasion, I will go to different events and parties and things, of course. And everyone knows I absolutely love New Orleans. It's one of my favorite places in the world. So, that said, I enjoy doing those things. But then I also know for a fact that I need to come back and have my space and my quiet time so that I can recharge from being around all of those different experiences and those different personalities. Um, and, just things like that. So I really just wanted to share that with you guys tonight and see what you thought of the price of peace, and also tell you guys a little bit about my new poetry collection. I have a lot of different things that I've been working on lately. Um, I'm always just constantly doing something, it seems like. I also put out a little short self-help nonfiction book called Challenging the Status Quo: 20 Lessons on Successful Freelance Ghostwriting, for all of you writers out there who are interested in learning some tips on how to break into the ghostwriting industry. Um, and I just have been working steadily on Dust Traces Never Fade, the sequel to The Softer Side of Texas. I have a couple of things that I'm working on up my sleeve. Kind of have my mini irons in the fire right now, but that seems to be a pretty constant for me. Um, and I'm excited to see what comes to play out, especially when it comes to the new podcast that I just started with AL Knuckles, Histories of Horror. If you haven't already, go check that out. It's available on just about everywhere you can find a podcast. Um, Started out on Spotify, but it's available, all over. You just look up Histories of Horror and you will find it. I set it up on the RSS, so you should be able to find it at wherever you listen to podcasts. And we just did our pilot episode on Sunday, which was really a lot of fun. Next, we're going to be talking about Waverly Hills Sanitarium, and I think that that's relevant, especially with this new executive order that the president has signed regarding homelessness and mental health, which has me all kinds of concerned, I have to be honest with you. And as I was saying to a few of my friends, there's a couple of things to think about, even if you're not homeless, and this rise to want to, clean the streets of criminal lawlessness, as they've said. If they determine that for whatever specifications you meet, that you are incapacitated, you can be put away with asylum warehousing. And I can see this administration trying to return that to those they feel are the undesirables, and that's really the only way that I can say it. And they will institutionalize people if they can get away with it. So it's interesting to talk about Waverly Hills because it was one of those places where those kinds of things have occurred, and it's an incredibly haunted facility. Um, it is one of several. Most of the places that were ever mental health hospitals or institutions tend to have a horrible kind of spiritual darkness over them, which is understandable considering the types of things that occurred in them. So it will be fun to talk about that with AL, especially because AL is actually ghost hunted on the grounds and visited Waverly Hills. In the future, we'll be talking about Lalaurie Mansion, which I have visited in New Orleans, and several others. We have a whole 30 episode season one from the start of July 27th, 2025 through September of 2026 set up, and we'll be doing it bi-weekly. Also, if you don't already know, which I'm sure most of you do, I have been working steadily with the authors of the Resistance alongside the co-founders Beverly and Kendra now for nearly 6 months. I just can't believe how fast that's gone by. And we have, 8 different episodes of Around the Table with the AOTR that are up. We've done countless, I think like 70 different direct actions now of different stories that are very important with regard to human rights violations, immigration, and just fascism taking over in the United States. So, if that is something that you care about, you can always again go check out Around the Table with the AOTR. It is also available on the RSS, so it's wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find it. We have YouTube episodes and we put them out bi-weekly. So those are the things that I've been doing a lot lately. I'm also going to be making a few more guest appearances where I talk about some more elaborate topics on Speak Seductively with Kyle Cannon. I am incredibly excited about that. I always have a great time talking to Kyle and Lily when I go. Unfortunately, Lily hasn't been there for the last 2 sessions that I did with Kyle, but I think that it still has been really cool to talk to him the few times that I have. So, with that said, I am pretty much just excited that this month of July has been really good for me on vocal media, especially. I have won 3 Vocal Top Story Awards in my tenure on vocal media. And the first one was for female vocals voluntarily celibate 4 years ago. But this month, in July 2025, I have won 2 different top story awards, and I'm incredibly proud of that. The first was for You Were Warned, You Just Didn't Care, and the second was for Spectre of La Serenda Crescente, which is actually the second chapter of something that I began writing last year when I was visiting New Orleans. And I just decided to write a second one. And another little kind of cutesy thing, I have put up a recipe that I just came up with on the fly. I mean, it is blueberry and blackberry season, y'all. So I was craving blueberry, and I watched Stand By Me the other day, and then the Stand By Me festival just happened in Brownsville, Oregon, where they actually filmed the movie. And I was just like, man, blueberry pie, blueberry cobbler. I want some blueberries. So I knew I had everything to make a dump cobbler. And I wanted it all a mode, but I didn't have any vanilla ice cream and I was low on money. So I was like, time to get into, like the iron mode method. Um, and the story behind this dish is there are some recipes that are born out of love and others out of tradition, and then there are ones that are created purely out of necessity. This one falls into that last category. I came up with this quick and comforting dessert when I found myself in a tight spot. Time was limited, and money is very tight right now. I don't know about y'all, but just it's just that way, man. And I had a craving that just would not let me go for blueberry. I couldn't make a trip to the store. I didn't have ice cream or whipped cream. I didn't have anything to make whipped cream. But what I did have was a little creativity and just enough basics in the kitchen to make something really special. So, feeling like Iron Chef in my own home and surveying my fridge and pantry like they were part of a cooking challenge, I discovered what I had. I had a container of vanilla Greek yogurt near the back of the fridge, a bag of powdered sugar, a trusty bottle of clover honey, and best of all, a handful of blueberries that were just waiting to be used, which was enough to spark an idea, right? I didn't need traditional toppings. I could create something delicious from what I already had. And that's how this dessert came together. It's what I call a dump cobbler. And I know that doesn't sound fancy, but the concept is incredibly simple and effective. You just combine the ingredients in the pan, pop it in the oven, and serve it up. No mixers, no fuss, just real honest food that warms you up from the inside out. The core of this cobbler is made from a handful of pantry staples: 1 cup of fruit, 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of milk, and 1 stick of butter. You melt the butter in your baking dish while the oven preheats, then mix the flour, sugar, and milk into a loose batter. Then pour it over the butter without stirring. Then top it with the fruit. That's it. It bakes into a golden, bubbling crust that cradles the sweet, softened berries, and it's rustic and satisfying. While it baked, I made a quick topping that mimics whipped cream. Using the Greek vanilla yogurt, I stirred in powdered sugar and a drizzle of honey until the mixture was smooth, creamy, and just sweet enough. You don't need exact measurements for that, just kind of taste and, adjust it to see what works for you. Eyeball it, as Rachel Ray used to say. This yogurt brings a slight tang, the honey adds richness, and the sugar gives it that classic dessert feel. If you have time, pop it in the fridge while the cobbler bakes. The contrast between the warm fruit and the cool cream is incredible. Though I used blueberries, this recipe is actually very flexible. You can use strawberries, peaches, cherries, blackberries, even canned fruit if that's what you have on hand. A splash of lemon juice or just a pinch of cinnamon can elevate the flavor, but the basic recipe stands strong on its own. That's what makes the dessert so reliable. It adapts to what you have, not the other way around. The recipe reminds me that good food doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be expensive either. Sometimes the best dishes come from the most unexpected situations. What started as a last minute solution turned into something I now make by choice. It's comforting, easy, and made with love. Whether you need a quick dessert, a way to use up fruit, or a cozy treat on a rainy day, this cobbler has your back. So try it for yourself. Don't be afraid to make it your own. It's the kind of recipe that welcomes creativity. So let your cravings guide you. Use what you have and enjoy every bite. You can find the recipe on my vocal media. Um, and of course, if you navigate over to my Substack, you will be able to easily find that. It is vocal.media/authors/Sai Marie Johnson. That is SAI-MARIE Johnson. And the Blueberry Dump Cobbler is the second article at the top underneath the pinned articles. You'll see it right between Whispers Between the Lines and Asylum Warehousing again. That said, I think I'd like to share one last recipe with you guys, and that comes from one that I also made by random chance. It is called the Peach Succulents Cake. Peach Succulents Cake was also made very similarly to the Blueberry Dump Cobbler that I just told you about. But anyway, so Peach Succulents Cake came together because it was a cake I made up on the fly while living in Alabama. With a few ingredients, it turned out great. We had a yellow cake mix box, a can of peaches, powdered sugar, a tiny bit of milk, and some ingenuity, like I've said before. So this is what happened, okay? So you can get one yellow cake mix or get swan cake flour and prepare it accordingly. One can of yellow peaches in syrup, heavy or light according to your preference. You will want to reserve the peach syrup from the can. Then you're going to take 2 to 3 slices of peaches and blend them up, and then reserve an additional 4 to 5 pieces and put that into your cake mix. You're going to mix a 1/4 cup of peach syrup, the 3 to 4 sliced peaches, and the blended peach puree into your cake mix, um, along with the regular, oil, eggs, things like that you need to prepare the cake. In addition to that, you're going to have to prepare your peach glaze with the rest of the peach syrup, so you don't want to use all the syrup in the can, only about 1/4 of it. You're going to take peach syrup, powdered sugar, a little bit of water, a dash of milk, and you're going to put that aside. You're going to have your extra couple sliced peaches from your canned peaches that are just saved on the side. Those are going to be garnished later on top of your cake. So now, the instructions. Prepare the cake mix according to the box directions or the swan cake directions. Once cooked, cool and poke with a fork. Then take 1/4 of the peach syrup from the can, that is whatever you have left over, and pour it over the cake to soak the cake in the syrup. Then take a portion of the remaining peach syrup and mix it with powdered sugar, water, milk, and then simmer it on top of the stovetop until it is thickened, and then pour it over the cake. After you've poured the glaze over the cake, take the remaining sliced canned peaches and arrange them on top of the cake. Then you can serve this optionally a la mode with ice cream or whipped cream. So basically, the best way to make it is with a bundt pan if you have one, but if not, you can make it with a regular cake. It's just basically a glazed cake. But peach succulents cake is a really good cake, and if you're a peach lover, it is great for the summertime, just like that blueberry dump cobbler is. So, to close out this podcast, I'm going to read you guys a little bit of a new story that I'm working on. This is called Unearthed, and it's by yours truly. Orange strands of fiery delight painted the horizon. This golden bleeding over the jagged horizon of the four corners gave the desert a violent infernal glow. eerily illuminating a landscape that was both anciently beautiful and glaringly scarred. Red rock formations jutted up to rise majestically, their faces carved by wind and eons, and the erosion of crude chain link fences topped with barbed wire, slicing across what were once sacred open pathways. The air hummed with the metallic tang of old uranium mines, and it was permeated with a ghastly scent that seemed to cling to the dry earth. Dust hung heavy, stirred by unseen forces, and some more visible too. So many boots, so many persons, and the desert was a silent witness to more secrets than its barren landscape could ever reveal. In the distance, a tiny construction office sat on temporary blocks. Inside, a single fluorescent light flickered, casting a sickly yellow glow over a crumpled map in the gnarled hands of a working man, Foreman Riggs. Now 50 and perpetually grumpy, he barked into a crackling walkie talkie, his face already red from the heat and stress, eyes lined in red from sleep deprivation and annoyance. Yeah, I hear you, Sanchez, god damn it. Another setback? He groaned, shaking his head. What is it this time? A damn gopher? I got a timeline from corporate, not some archaeology dig. This ecotourism retreat isn't going to build itself. Why can't you just fill it in and keep things moving? Riggs slammed the walkie talkie back onto a stack of blueprints, muttering under his breath. Empty coffee cups and crushed cigarette butts littered the desk like forgotten ambitions and evidence of his high strung lifestyle. He snorted, and glancing outside, the roar of heavy machinery cut through the morning quiet, lending a sudden smirk to appear on his lips. A massive bulldozer ground forward, its steel blade biting deep in the sun-baked earth, pushing a mound of red dirt. Behind it, a smaller excavator maneuvered into position. Sanchez, 30 and lean, squinted through the dust and glare. He looked more contemplative than the other workers, a subtle worry etched into his features. His machine lurched, the arm plunging down. Instead of the usual crunch of rock, there was a sickening, hollow thud. The excavator shuddered violently. Then, with a gasp of air, the engine died abruptly. The sudden silence was jarred, broken only by the distant fading hum of the bulldozer. Sanchez took off his hard hat, wiping sweat from his brow. He hopped down from the cab. Mitchell, a burly 40-something who looked like he'd seen a lot of hard labor, sauntered over, nudging the quieter, more weathered Bradley, also in his 40s, with an elbow. What'd you hit, Sanchez? Another one of Bradley's grandma's ghosts? Mitchell snickered, his voice coarse. Bradley just grumbled, shaking his head. He'd seen enough of this land, heard enough of the old stories to be wary. Sanchez ignored them, his gaze fixed on the newly formed crater. It was roughly circular, about 10 feet wide, too perfectly carved to be natural. The exposed dirt inside was a strange, almost charcoal-like black. At the bottom, something shimmered. It wasn't metal, but an iridescent, unsettling glow, partially covered by crumbling, sun-bleached adobe. Sanchez knelt, peering closer. He could make out faint geometric carvings on the exposed adobe, lines that were ancient, organic, unlike anything modern or colonial. He reached a hand down, brushing away more dirt. Beneath the adobe, he saw fragments of fossilized bone embedded in the black earth, and just below them, glinting through a newly created fissure, was something impossibly smooth and dark, reflecting the sky like obsidian. A faint, almost imperceptible whisper seemed to rise from the pit. It wasn't in English. It was a mix of Navajo, Diné Bisad, and Mexican Spanish, layered and ancient, barely audible above the wind. Sanchez recoiled, a shiver running down his spine despite the heat. He pulled out his walkie-talkie, his hand trembling slightly. Riggs, he said, his voice taut, you need to get down here. Now. It's not a gopher. It's something else. It's sealed. A beat of static. Riggs' voice crackled back, impatient. I got no time for your superstitions, Sanchez. Fill it in. We're already behind schedule. Sanchez's eyes were fixed on something shimmering on the shimmering darkness in the pit. The whispers growing louder, more insistent. No, he breathed, almost to himself. We can't. I think we buried the wrong thing. A subtle, almost imperceptible pulse emanated from the depths of the pit, vibrating through the very ground. The desert itself seemed to hold its breath. And that is chapter 1, The Disturbance, from Unearthed by yours truly. And I am working on that one because that one just kind of came to be. Um, seems to happen to me quite often. But yeah, I am happy to have tuned in with you guys to here tonight, and I hope that you will come back and listen to more of my late night ramblings with Sai Marie. Till next time, y'all stay safe out there.